Well, as we're counting down there, we're about 30 seconds away from getting the show started, and I'll just pop on here right at noon. So I'm only 23 seconds behind today. Pretty good, right? Not too bad. Dan Vaughn with you, voice of the Explorers, and we're going to talk Explorers and the American Association next as we count down, as we are here from Hawks and Sergeant Bluff once again. It's right, back-to-back days here. That's because I'm here every day, so why not, right? Let's get the countdown off the screen. Glad you're along. Another edition of the show, and let me bring this down. There we go. Glad you're along today. Got a couple things to get to. We're going to have Kevin Luco join me in just a moment. He's standing by the wings. He's in the virtual green room. He'll join me. Kevin is a multi-talented guy. He does phenomenal writing with his 10th inning blog spot. He also is the other dynamic duo team of podcasters in our league who do a league exclusive podcast. And he, along with Rob Paneer, do This Week in the American Association. They're writing stuff every day, doing a podcast weekly, and Kevin's writing things daily. Rob's writing things daily. These guys are dialed into the American Association. I thought it'd be good. Thursday, really the last home game of June. We're into that July stretch starting this weekend, and get him in and get his thoughts on the American Association and where the X's sit in the grand pecking order, but also maybe some crystal ball looking down the way, because we're approaching the midway point. Not quite there, but we'll be there next week. And then also, on the revisit real quickly here last night, I thought I would do is roll the highlights and just kind of chat through them real quick before I bring Kevin on. Last night was a weird game. And you're going to get those weird games in the course of a season. And it was, for example, Sioux Falls walked 8 batters. I would tell you, you guys would know this, you walk 8 batters in a ball game, you're not going to win many games. They lead the league in walks, but somehow survived 8 walks last night and still got a win for their starter, Ty Colberth, who was as their pitching coach as well, but still they got a 10-7 win. And you got as close as within 1 run at one point at, 6-5? And couldn't close the gap. But it was a weird game from a standpoint that your offense did what the offense did, scoring 7 runs. With this pitching staff, that should be enough. But last night, you're going to have some bad nights on the mound. Trenton Toplicar didn't have his normal stuff he's had the last 2 times out. And the bullpen woes sort of continued to appear. And what I mean by that is every couple days there's that flat tire in the bullpen, and that's not really been Steve Montgomery's calling card over the years. But we'll get to all that as we go forward. But again, I don't think there's anything to be alarmed about. I think normally we'd be sitting there talking about an X's win and a series win, but a chance for that tonight. So let me play the highlights real quickly here from last night. I'll pull these in for you. Just kind of talk through them here. It's not the best view, but it's the view we got. So we'll go ahead and go with that here. If I can pull this on my screen here. Where are we? There we go. And I'll just go and talk over. This is the home run. This is a home run last night right there from Miguel Sierra. Sierra is having a good stretch right now. He is now got the average over 200. He's climbed over 80 points. And we talked about with Connor last night, something that Steve Montgomery talked about. Sometimes the collective, which your organization already has, steps up. And this young man right here is stepping up. He had a really good, nice tail end of last year, saw a limited sample size. I think you're seeing now what this young man can do. There's the Fernandez home run down that right field fair foul pole, just bending around it. Got the X's the lead last night. And usually you feel pretty good about that, right? You're 4-3. This offense, starting to crank a little bit. Your pitching staff, you figure you're going to be fine. Well, Sioux Falls, they wear uniforms too, and they came back and did mount the comeback. And here's the 4-3 here this is Chase Harris's double. This got you within 2. And you really felt like you're going to – I felt at that point you were coming back. But then again, nice slide for Jimenez. Well, Refredo's also in a good month of June. But again, dink-doink, walk, and you're in trouble. The walks hurt you. They didn't hurt them as much because they scored so many runs. Here's Jimenez home run. This way the double. That's the home run. I'm sorry. That's the home run. He had a double, too. They hit the top of the wall. Looked like just sat right on it. But he's a double home run for Alfredo last night in the loss, and that was been at 9-7. But again, never got any closer. I'll bring those down, and we'll just kind of chat over the rest of the highlights here so you guys can see those there in the screen. But again, most nights you're going to feel pretty good about having what you had last night. You're going to feel pretty good about uh, the um, the offense. Just the pitching was not what you've had, and that's going to happen sometimes. And again, the 8 walks, that's not what you're going to see a lot of. And I would guarantee you, Kevin will tell you too, as he was jump on in the moment, that you walk 8, you're in trouble. So, all right, around the league last night, the good news is with Lincoln losing last night, we lost last night. We still stay in third position, which, as I mentioned yesterday, third and fourth are the same. Now, you want to be first or second. Third or fourth is the same because you're going to get picked. You're going to get a dance partner regardless. So you're not going to be a home field. You're not going to have home field advantage either. So you're either going to be playing one game at home against one of the two teams ahead of you, either if you're third or fourth. I think finishing third makes you feel better because you played pretty good baseball, right? I think finishing second or first would make you feel really good about your body of work going forward. But just right there last night, also Kansas City won again, and they've increased their lead to 1 game, I believe, over Fargo. Fargo did lose down in Cleveland. We'll get to all that tonight in the broadcast. So without further ado, I'm going to bring in Kevin Luco here. I'm bringing him in here, and he's getting counted down. I'm going to bring him into the screen. And Kevin, there you are. Good morning. Actually, good afternoon. Let me put this off the screen here. Good afternoon. Can you hear me, sir?
I hear you loud and clear, Dan.
All right, let me bring the volume up so I can hear you. I hear you, but I got to pull my little earbuds up. There we go. There we go. There we go. There we go. Actually, put both earbuds in. Probably a good idea. Where do we start? First off, Kevin does great work with This Week in the Association and his 10th inning blog spot. I'm going to put that up on the screen in a moment. But you've been around around the league so far this year. I believe you made 4 or 5 stops. Just at this point where we're sitting 44, 43, almost the halfway point, who do you feel is the team to beat today?
As I was thinking about coming on today, and I knew that question was going to come up, and my first thought is the more the things change, the more they stay the same. It seems like it's Kansas City is emerging as the team to beat. Fargo Moorhead, in spite of all the injuries they've had in the last week, they found a way to keep things on track. I want to say Milwaukee in the East, and this season has been a real roller coaster for many teams, and Milwaukee's one of them. I felt really good. I was buying in on them, and now they've dropped 2 in a row at Gary South Shore. So, but in general, I would say that Milwaukee in the East, Cleveland's making a good run for it. Chicago's seems to always be in the mix. They had that horrible losing streak, but they've seemed to bounce back nicely from it. So it just seems like in the West, the top 2, Fargo Moorhead, Kansas City in the East, probably 3 teams you're looking at with Cleveland, Chicago, Milwaukee. But what I've liked so far in the season is you can't take a day off regardless of who you're playing. We saw it with the Explorers. They went up to Fargo, took 2 out of 3 over the weekend. We've seen, a team last year, Lake Country, they struggled mightily. They've been a tough out so far this year. Sioux Falls, I've seen improvement out of them. I throw dirt on Winnipeg about a week ago, and now they've gone into Lincoln and won 3 in a row. So I think that speaks volumes for the quality of the league, too, that you cannot take a night off and expect to win.
Yeah, and I think you're right about it being almost a weekly proposition because you're right. What is it? A week ago, 10 days ago, everybody was burying Winnipeg. I mean, what's going on in Winnipeg? There was strife in Winnipeg. What's going to happen there? Can Greg Taggart still manage? Those kind of talks. But again, what a difference a week makes. 2 weeks ago, Sioux City was banged up, had no extra men. We're just trying to tape it together with duct tape and baling wire and trying to get it going. And suddenly, boom, boom, win 2 series after a heartbreaking series loss in Lincoln. But I think it's a week-to-week proposition. Of the teams you see, now you've seen them all, obviously on A baseball, but of the ones just in general, who out there lurks in the weeds? I'm with you. I believe right now, and I'm not trying to be anti or pro anybody, but there are 4 teams that look to be the chalk. I agree with you. Milwaukee in the East, perhaps one day it's Chicago, one day it's Cleveland, and from there it drops off a little. And I think in the West, it's clearly Fargo and Kansas City, Fargo, however you want to cook it up, because Kansas City just keeps adding veterans and big leaguers and whatever, Australians, whatever they want to add. And Fargo's hanging in there, even though they've been banged up. Of the rest, what do you think about the rest? Who's that team that may be scary out there? And it doesn't have to be the Explorers, so don't jump down that rabbit hole unless you feel that way.
Well, I'm not saying this because I'm on X's Expresso, but honestly, I feel like Sioux City is that team that could put a really good scare into the top two teams in the league. I just think that we're finally starting to see the team come together now. There's been injuries, there have been guys that haven't worked out, but I think Steve Montgomery's done a fine job of building this ball club, and I think we've yet to see the best out of the Sioux City Explorers, and when we do, watch out.
Yeah, Connor Ryan was with me last night. He's with me on Wednesdays and Sundays, and he had noticed the difference because he was with me last. It had been 2 weeks ago Wednesdays when he was with me last, and that team was didn't have Matt Lloyd, didn't have Jake Sanford, and John Nagowski was just arriving, and those three pieces arriving, leaving, and all that, getting back together, it's a different team, and I think he even noticed too. And I noticed this. A couple of folks have said swagger. A couple of folks have said they have pep in their step, whatever. I thought, and this just from my seat, over the years I've watched Sioux City from a distance, and they always would scare the heck out of me. Now, granted, I didn't know what was going on inside the clubhouse. I didn't know all the ins and outs, but this is the kind of look that would scare me if I'm a Monarchs or Red Hawks fan. A team that's sort of lurking here, that's got a little something going. Yeah, they're behind in the standings. They've earned that spot to be 6 games back, 7 games back, but there's enough there. And and you and I know this very well. You've talked to Steve Montgomery on the air many times. I mean, the guy's working hard.
He is, and I mean, how many times did you see it when you're in Kansas City? Just the epic battles between the T-Bones and then Monarchs against the Sioux City Explorers. Those have been absolute wars throughout the years, and you look at the West Division too. Brandon Lincoln has took it on the chin from the Winnipeg Gold Eyes, but we always know that the Hot Dogs are going to be a tough out too. But I just really feel like Sioux City is going to be that team in the West that's going to knock on the door of the top two teams.
Opponent we're playing tonight, Sioux Falls. You've seen them a lot. You've got a pulse there, I think. What's the story there? I mean, on paper, I look at last night. They scored 10 runs. They walk 8 and still survive. I mean, obviously, scoring 10 runs, you're going to win a lot of nights. But most nights you walk 8, you're not going to win. Is that pretty much their story? That their staff is just had a hard time getting outs and not walking folks. They're scoring runs. I mean, that lineup's dangerous. I mean, it's a good lineup. I mean, Mike Hart might be the MVP of this league, and no one even knows it. That's how good that kid is. And he's been hurt most of the time. He may be the best player in this league by far. And yet they're winning games like 10-7. They can't sustain that, can they?
It's not exactly the ideal blueprint to go by to win ball games, but when you look at the construction of the Canaries roster, that's the way it's built. They put all their 5 allotted vet spots into position players, which I think they're maybe Ty Colbreth could be considered a veteran, but we saw it last night. He got the win, but
yeah, I just find them interesting because they have a ballpark that's an offensive ballpark. But I look at that game last night, and at no point did I feel like they were the better team, but their offense is really good because it's a complete body of work. But again, they're surviving with the offense, and I guess that's the thing that makes them scary. My point was I don't count them out yet either. I think the division still those bottom spots right now, with the exception maybe the way Sioux City's played lately, you could draw them out of a hat, and you wouldn't be wrong any week to be who that fourth team is.
I think you're spot on with that. And what it looks like Mike Meyer is doing is he is scouring for these guys that are undrafted free agents or guys that are pitched Division II college and pitched really well.
Yeah.
He's plugging them into spots and he's seeing what he's got and then making moves as he needs to. But I believe there's a few good arms in that staff that are guys that are unheralded. Chris Harden, I've been impressed with. Had a little bit of a rocky start on Saturday night. Seth Miller has been good out of the bullpen. Hayden Thomas has. And other than a few hiccups in two of them, I think were in Lincoln, Charlie Hasty has been excellent in the back end of the pen. So if Meyer can go out and find guys that can fill rookie spots or LS1 spots and just go out and give them 5-6 innings a night, this team's got enough offense where I think they're going to be a threat.
Voice hearing is Kevin Luco. He's with This Week of the American Association and the 10th Inning Blog Spot. Dan Vaughn with you, voice of the Sioux City Explorers, talking association baseball here on the Expresso. It's a quarter after the hour. We're at Hawks. By the way, today I had breakfast and have my smoothie here at Hawks, and then I've got my my Solomon Bates right there. That's the cold brew right there with the. You get your St. Paul Saints cup on there, right?
Yeah,
Look at you.
the 1993 Champions Cup.
That thing's vintage.
W.
Does that thing have holes in the bottom of it or not?
Oh no, it's holding up just fine.
Kevin, of course, for a long time.
Plastic 30 years ago, so we're still in good shape.
For a long time, covered the St. Paul Saints. Yeah, I want to ask you about that before I get back to the association. Do you think, and this is just from a Sioux City point of view, for a long time, Sioux City and St. Paul, Sioux Falls, all those teams, those Northern League cousins, the Fargos, the World Winnipegs. Obviously, we miss St. Paul. Do you think St. Paul misses us as far as the association?
I can tell you that the people that miss the association, more than likely, I would say 80% of them are not going to Saints games anymore. But they've been replaced by fans that are fans of the Minnesota Twins, are fans of wanting to see who the next guys up are going to be, who are the hot prospects.
Right.
So the Saints as an organization have not missed a beat, but I think there's a really good, solid core of fans that would love to have. I don't know how the heck you could do it. There's really not a lot of room. There's not a big market sitting in Minnesota without a baseball team. But I think there's a solid core of fans that really miss having that true independent, one's called Rebel League style of baseball. And I know I truly miss it. It's drawn me into amateur baseball in Minnesota because it just, to me, it's the closest feel I get to what it was like with the Saints.
Yeah, and they're definitely missed. They were the everybody enjoyed going there, and there's a lot of legendary. I mean, I've been doing a lot of research in the Northern League, and you can't talk about the Northern League without the St. Paul Saints. It's a lot of reverence for that organization. But I just find it interesting because I've seen this too. And I use the Texas Rangers for an example. They've got the big club in Arlington. Their AA club is up the road in Frisco, a real large suburb where Jerry Jones has his training, is a monstrous Ford Center for all the bells and whistles and all that. And there's this AA ballpark. And I've been noticing lately more their advertising for Frisco have been featuring things like the prospects. There's a segment of fans that go to games there in Frisco that just want to be entertained. They want the cheap deal, take the family out, and not have to go to Arlington. There's another segment of fans who want to see that next wave. And I think you're seeing a little bit of that in St. Paul, where we used to see they want to be entertained, and now they're wanting to see. You got a segment of the society that wants to be, see that next the next left fielder or the next closer or whatever. I mean, I get that. I understand, but boy, I sure miss going up there and hang out on the rooftop there across the street. That was good times. And the tailgating, like you guys would do.
The old ox card. I go on Facebook and I see in my Facebook memories hanging out at the ox card after a 5-3 10-inning victory or whatever.
Question.
I think you make the good point about what the fans are looking for now.
Yeah.
I think maybe saying 80% left was maybe a little strong, but I would say maybe 60%. There's also that segment that they want to go to CHS Field to be entertained.
Right.
Not necessarily by the product on the field, but is it a good promo that night? They're there for the entertainers. So you also have that segment. So like I said, the Saints will be just fine, but there are a good chunk of people out there that I think truly miss the independent baseball scene.
Question asked, since you're the 10th inning blog spot, I assume you hates extra innings too. Uh, I would
Oof.
think that's safe, right?
We just had one last night. My local team was playing up in Elko against the Express. Keep in mind, Faribault's a Class C team, Elko's a Class B team. But I don't know, those fans out there can remember Jake Petrichka. He was a longtime major league pitcher. He was a closer for the Chicago White Sox at one time. He's from Faribault, came back to play this year, struck out 17 guys in 8 2/3 innings last night, but they needed a guy thrown out at home plate in the last of the ninth to preserve the tie, and that's exactly what happened. And Faribault won in 10 innings. But I 10 innings this year. I've sat through 15 innings. I know I was not an advocate for the zombie runner, the phantom runner, the Nolan Lane runner, whatever you want to call it.
Automaton.
We'll go with that too. Whatever people want to call it. I like my theory. Find a great player from your past and let him be the runner. I'm a fan of that now. I would love to see it in amateur baseball because I love baseball, but I had one game, 15 innings, and I rolled home at about quarter after midnight, and I could have done without it. I could have give me the phantom runner and get me out of there an hour or so earlier.
Yeah, there's nothing from worse than from my position and having to finish the game story and put it online and have to wait around and send it out at midnight or 12:30 or whatever, and you're not getting out of the ballpark to 1:30 or 2, as opposed to 11:30. I mean that's a big difference, but I get it. Kevin Luco with us here on X's Expresso from Hawks here at Sergeant Bluff. Glad you're along on your Thursday tonight. Now Thursday. I'll get to that in a moment after let Kevin go. But a couple more things. You were here in Sioux City about a month ago, about roughly, and you hadn't been in a while, and you had some pretty positive vibes about the time.
I did. I like Sioux City. I think it's a good hardcore baseball place. I know being a St. Paul, like you're not going to get I'm not going to see the entertainment factor like you are in St. Paul. That's one of a kind thing. But as I was sitting there watching the two games, I had to think myself, if I lived here and I was a baseball fan, I'd be there every night. And that's the
Yeah.
part I don't get about, why are we not seeing more people at Explorers games?
Yep.
It's a great product, and if you're a baseball fan and it's summer, it's upper Midwest, you're only going to get so many good nights of weather during the summer. Why would you not enjoy it at the ballpark?
Yeah,
I think
Yeah.
things are trending up a bit for the Explorers.
Yep.
But I'd love to see that get even better. And
Yeah.
I think
Tom and John are doing great work here. I will tell you this. It's funny. I was talking about with the two affiliates here, TV affiliates here yesterday or Tuesday. And I remember my time as a Cub reporter for the ABC affiliate in Lubbock, and we didn't have a minor league team this summer. We had, I had to do powerboat racing and cycling, and we had to really create stories when there was, I think, June, July. You had training camp coming up for football. You do some stuff like that, but in general, you had to really create features. You had to create things and go out and find a little league story that was great or whatever. Didn't have the luxury of having it. Excuse me, have a team every night. And we got a team every night. These folks are very blessed. And I think it's great that we get coverage every night. But I'm with you, though. Of course, then again, me and you would probably be I'd be at every game, too. I mean, I'd probably, I'm the kind of guy to live right around the corner from the stadium. That's me. Well, wait, I do. So it's all good. So wrapping things up with Kevin Luco, All-Star game's coming up. Are you making the trip first off?
Yes, I will. And do a little self-advertising. If anyone out there is listening and is planning on attending the All-Star game, I would love to get some people together on the day of the game. There's a bowling alley called the Howler House. It is the oldest sanctioned bowling alley in America. There's a chance I could get that lanes reserved for about an hour or so, and I'd love to go do some Tuesday morning bowling with a bunch of American Association fans. I think that would be a blast. But yes, I will be out there. I look forward to it every year. I'm glad that it is once again, and looking forward to seeing fans from throughout the league and obviously the players too. And it's just a great showcase for the league.
That should be really good. All right, I'll put you on the spot here. Do you have an MVP so far? Do you have a candidate? I mean, a midway points, almost MVP. Do you have anybody out there you think that guy's carrying his club?
Well, you're putting me on the spot there.
It's hard. I don't think there's a clear cut one. I'm just interested to see if you guys have talked about that. I don't think there's a clear cut one. I don't think there's a clear cut answer, but I just there's one that you think that's sort of the lead. I don't think there is personally. I was looking to do my All-Star ballot last night. I had a hard time with that, but maybe you've seen something I haven't seen.
I'll throw this name out there. And, we talked about Fargo Moorhead earlier and how they've had the injury bug lately. But one guy that has been a presence in that lineup, he's great in the field, great at the plate. He's added power. He's got speed, and that's Evan Alexander.
Good ball player. Good ball player. Well, I would not argue that he had a great. He was actually pulled them from the depths of a loss on Saturday in Game 1 by getting aboard late, and then he's got that speed. He's a pretty solid defensive player. I like that ball player. They get an interesting team too. Really, the thing is, this is going to be a fun race in both divisions. But the West, you've got this mini major league team in Kansas City that seems to be sort of the giant amongst everybody else. You got Fargo, who's got the pedigree of the championship and who seems to have a swagger. You got the little engine that could, the X's, who sort of hang in the weeds, and you got Lincoln that sort of one day they look like they can go toe-to-toe with anybody. It's going to be a fun race, man, a lot of fun. And I look forward to having you on again and talking more about it after the All-Star break, my friend.
Sounds good. Love to do it.
Oh, we got a couple questions. Let me see here. Hold on. A couple comments here before I let you go. Let's see. Can Darnell switch suits? That's very funny. Rick says, unfortunately, most of the sports fans in Sioux City are fair weather fans. Turns up when the team's number one. Well, let's get him number one, Rick. Let's see here. Ron says, after getting Kevin, why aren't people coming to games? I've even offered a guy free tickets last night because he wanted to watch the game. Never got a response from him. Very interesting. And the studio says the American Association ever bought the contract of another team's player. No. That would be a trade. So no, but I just want to get those comments there for you, Kevin. That you bring up very good stuff, and Kevin, appreciate the time, appreciate the insight there, because a couple of our fans really are right there with you. I appreciate you, mate. And by the way, I'd put this on the screen again. Tell folks they can find your fine work. It comes out every Sunday, and you guys also tape on Monday, I believe, correct?
Yes, you can find my blog at 10thinningstretch.blog.
I left Strach out. Let me put it on the screen there. Let me type it out for us. Go ahead, continue. Say it again.
10thinningstretch.blogspot.com. And then you can find This Week in the Association on minorleaguesportsreport.com. And of course, we posted on our Facebook page. We have a This Week in the Association Facebook page, which I strongly advise you fans to go out and join in with us. It's a really good conversation, and it just makes it really easy to find my work on there, to find Rob's daily stories on there, and to find the podcast. That would be your place to go to find everything. This Week in the Association Facebook page.
Ken, I appreciate it. Let's do this in into July, 1st of August, and we'll stretch run. That'll be fun.
Sounds good, Dan. Thanks for having me.
Kevin Luco right there from This Week, the American Association. Appreciate his time right there. And I'll echo again what I said several times already. There's only a handful of folks who cover our league on a daily basis, and that's one of them. He and his partner, Rob Paneer, cover this league every day. I mean, Rob's writing a piece every day. I encourage you to go to their Facebook page, This Week in the American Association. Also, 10th Inning Stretch blog spot is there. It is. It's put Chris Studio put it up there for me. Thank you, Studio. Appreciate him. Put it up there. There we go. And great stuff. He does a power rankings every week. I didn't give him any trouble about that, but he does power rankings every week. And those power rankings, they change, and they are, we've been on top before and been down toward the bottom. So it's been we've been there. But I encourage you, and I mentioned, there's two writers in Gary that work for the Tribune and the Times who have a satellite paper in Gary in Northwest Indiana. The Winnipeg folks, and then the late Terry Harrison here in town. Terry was just a gym to be around, and guys know what he was about, promoting this ball club and covering this ball club. And there weren't only a handful. There's places where you don't get stories in the newspaper. There are places where you don't get coverage. This city is not one of them. This city gets coverage every night, and we also get great folks like Kevin and Rob who cover this league every day. So I encourage you folks, when you're liking our show, following what I'm doing, following what we're doing, also follow them, because we're going to do a lot of back and forth things going forward with those folks. Dan Vaughn with you here on X's Expresso as we round at third, head for home here. There we go. Hawks Coffee. Here in Sergeant Bluff, great place. If you guys, I'm not real good at the streets around here. I can just walk this. I can come here with my eyes closed, but it's right there on the main drag. It's right down from the DQ, the Casey's back in the corner. Can't miss it. I kind of stumbled across it by accident, and I've been there every day when I'm home. And they even know my name. So I go someplace a lot. It's like the coffee shop of the neighborhood coffee shop. It's my neighborhood coffee shop, and they do great work here. Dan Vaughn, Hawking Hawks. Yes, I'm the Hawking Hawker. Reminds me of a great. Steve knows my background in Australia. There's a place called the West Side Hawker, and the word hawker in Australia and in Commonwealth countries goes back to Hong Kong and Singapore, where you have street vendors and they're hawkers, and they're usually delicious food. If you've ever had a chance to go to Singapore, you can eat off the street corner. The streets are so clean. Parts of Hong Kong are like this too, especially the newer quarters are where the markets are, where the more traditional Commonwealth that the British kind of built up. Those market areas have really great hawkers. The word hawker, whenever you see the word hawker in Australia, it takes you to the time you were in Hong Kong or in Singapore and grabbing great street food. Well, when I hear hawker, I think of great street food. And I remember on a couple of layovers I've had going to Australia where I stopped and had great street food and getting from a hawker. Anyway, my favorite Asian fusion place in Australia, in Perth, is in the West Side Hawker, and it tastes just like you get on the street, except it's a restaurant. So anyway, whole different divergence. I just dove right down there. So Dan Vaughn, Hawking Hawks here. Glad you guys are along. Big thanks to Kevin Luco. Now tonight, good pitching matchup tonight at the ballpark. Now it's Thirsty Thursday, so it means $1 Pepsi's, $1 select beverages, adult beverages for you adults. Young kiddos, well, I don't have to tell you. I guess you'll have to perhaps make do. I don't know what are we going to do. Boy, I kind of like this leaning forward thing. See, you can tell I have a face for radio, and I kind of like. But anyway, good matchup tonight. Keem Bostic, hard-throwing right-hander. He's pitched here before. He's really their ace. He's the guy that Sioux Falls is counting on for a series win. He's their guy. They've got their guy going. Now, the X's have a really deep pitching staff. Now, our guy arguably Solomon Bates has been the guy for us. Probably going to be pitcher of the month, I would think, in the month of June. Probably, I would think. But we've got a real nice, arsenal of arms down there. You've got, top of the card went last night, had a little bit of a rough night last night. Mitchell Verberg has been really, really good. And then Weatherby's been good. And how about Austin Drury? He's been really good. And we talked about this last night. The X's somehow, some way, have found a way to lose 4 ball games when this guy has tossed a quality start. And of those 4 ball games, only 1 game did he allow 3 runs. The rest were 2 runs or less. So 3 of those starts, the X's lost games where he went out and allowed only 2 runs or 1 run. And then one outing, he went 6 2/3, they allowed 3 runs. But the X's are somehow, and I don't know, this is what's weird about baseball, because that's not a step that's going to happen, right? You're not going to toss a quality start after quality start after quality start. That's 6 innings, 3 earned runs or less. You get a loss. And the team got a loss. The team had lost all those 4 games. Now, he didn't get a loss, but the team did. And I just think that you've got a real deep rotation, and there's been some bad luck. And Drury, he has pitched him as ace-like as possible. And I guarantee you out there, the line would be pretty long if he was available because he's been really, really good. So Drury going tonight, lefty against the righty King Bostic. Gates swing at 6, and we go on the air at 6:35 on KSCJ. Let's see. I'll pass out tickets on that. Table that a little bit, WD-40. There's a little something, just table that. I do know what I'm doing. Let's see here. Yeah, great bounce back year for Akeem. He's been really good. He was pitched in Kansas City last year. And he became, I think I mentioned this on the air, Akeem Bostic became the first former new Monarch to make the big leagues. Not a guy who came from the big leagues, the Monarchs. He actually left and pitched in a ball game with the Mets back in 21. So good kid, really good dude, and just hoping tonight that Drury is that much better. And I think it'll be a great matchup. It's a big game. You know, Sioux Falls can leave with a series win. They've got the upper hand of the season series, which means you've got to win there to break even in the season series, the tiebreaker. You win tonight, you've got the head up, and you win a game down there. The worst case scenario, you're going to be even. So it's a big ball game, a big ball game for both ball clubs. And Lincoln, of course, living this weekend, and a chance to take care of business there. And I think you really feel like this is a real big opportunity for this ball club tonight and going forward. I think they realize it, and they seem to get it. Seem to be really in a good place here. And I just think last night, optically, I mean, again, you had 3 home runs, 3 home runs last night. You had 3 home runs last night. You scored 7 runs. You had, 10 hits? Feel pretty good about that. Those weird nights when you did everything almost right, except for the pitching is part of it. They did everything almost right, except for the walk part of it, and survived. And that's not going to happen. They walk 8 tonight, they will lose. I'd be shocked. Back-to-back nights, you walk 8 and win. It's not going to happen. The game doesn't work that way. Anyway, we win this series. I feel good about Lincoln. Yes, Rick, I'm right there with you. Last call for questions and comments. So I got a 1 o'clock back at the ballpark I got to get to as well. I'm going to do that. I'll give you guys a moment or two to chime in. How do you feel? I mean, Rick kind of sums it up. We win this series. I feel good about the trip. How do you guys feel? Stino, you're down in Kansas City. You're a Kansas City guy. Do you think the fans are nervous about, not saying the fans, the casual fan who comes out and gets his promotional item and all that, and I'm talking about the guy who really wants to win and lose, that hangs up win and loss. Do you think they're worried about Sioux City? I wonder. I believe there's a respect factor there. I'll tell you this: I had a fan pull me aside in Fargo and told me, "Boy, you guys, you're only gonna get better." And he says, "My mouth is still bleeding from Sioux City punching us in the face." Yeah. I think what we learned in that series too, Stino, and just in general, the way baseball works, good pitching will always give you a chance. You have the upper hand in pitching. That doesn't mean you're going to win every game. You still might lose 3-2. But you're going to be in every ball game. And, I remember I go back to, I'm trying to think of some series in the playoffs over the years. I mean, I'll give the 2019 Sioux City series against Kansas City, where Sioux City had the better arms. And the one key thing to remember is the health. And they were healthier. It doesn't mean that Fargo or Kansas City won't get to the finish line and have the best record, but how are they feeling? That 19 season, Kansas City had a catcher that couldn't throw because he had a broken hand. He had to catch him off his glove, take it off, and throw back with his left hand. That was going on in the playoffs. Another catcher couldn't catch because he couldn't run. He couldn't get squat down. When you were that banged up, Sioux City was healthier, but also they had the better pitching. And I think that also is where we're at. I believe that if you run out the 5 guys you've got in your rotation right now, any of the 5 match up just fine with anybody else in the league every day. It's not like, well, maybe today I could take any of those 5 starters out of the bag, and I feel pretty good. I feel really good against anybody in the league. That could be Kevin McGovern, who's the legend. It could be, former big league like Finnegan, whoever. I don't fear anybody with this rotation. I mean, every one of these guys is going to give you a chance, and they're going to give you more times than not 5-6 innings, quality starting, and you know what? You're taking chances. Okay, you don't hit 280, but you hit 260, but you're able to squeak out 4 or 5 runs. You're in trouble if you're facing this ball club. So anyway, enough of that. Thanks for joining me here. Thanks to Kevin Luco for joining me. Thanks to Hawks Coffee here in Sergeant Bluff. Glad you guys stopped by tonight. Again, 6:35 on the radio side. AATV starts just shortly after that, and I guess I can give you a little of that here. A little where are we at? Hey, baseball. There we go. And then we've got KSCJ. There we go there. Bring freebies. WD-40 wants freebies. Okay. What freebies? Okay. Again, this is Expresso. We do this every Monday through Friday when we're home or away and we're not traveling. So that means tomorrow the show will probably not air. That doesn't mean I don't like you guys or love you guys. We'll probably leave, this is a guess, about mid-morning, 11 or so in the morning, and we will arrive after the show would air. So that's a great example when we won't have a show. But we'll be back on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, all next week. We'll be on the air and recapping the night before, talking about the night coming up. Also, guests here and there. And everybody wants freebies. Everybody wants a freebie, right? Who doesn't? Who doesn't want to? In this cost-conscious world of ours, who doesn't want a freebie, right? All good. All right, everybody. Love y'all. We'll see you guys at the ballpark. Join us on the air. I haven't even got the prep tonight. I do want to dive back down to 1947 because apparently the weather was so bad. I found some stuff on that. Maybe we'll get to that. You want to be a guest next week? Yeah, I guess we can put you on. We'll see what we can do. We'll see. I know Mongo's gonna try to join me as well next week. Get Solomon here at the shop too as well. Anyway, I gotta go. Love you guys. We'll see you guys tonight on the broadcast. Ready for some 1, 2, 3 go X's. Oh, we're leaving at 9 a.m. So, well, you know what? We might get a show tomorrow then. 9, 10, 11. We could do the show from down there at the mill by noon. You know what? Tomorrow is a tentative. Tomorrow's tentative. A lot of it depends, Rick, if what time I get up tomorrow morning and how tired I am because I've already done my walk today and I did it the last 3 days. And I don't know how much gas I'll have left in the tank tonight with this sinus infection I've got going on. So, but if we're leaving at 9, we ought to be able to do the show tomorrow from the mill there in the Haymarket. So, okay. All right. Yes. And still, you're right. And I'm a closing here. I don't think the casual fan, no, the casual fan doesn't know Sioux. Well, they know Sioux Falls. That's probably a good example. Our casual fan doesn't know the difference between Fargo and King County. They know they're two different cities. They couldn't tell you who Evan Alexander is or Jimmy Kerrigan is. Those are two center fielders for those two ball clubs. They wouldn't know the difference in either one of those guys. They'd walk up, they'd have no idea who they were. And that's okay. Now, the guys and gals that are wins and losses fans, they hang by every win and loss. And there are a lot of them out there in every city. They do know. They do know. I was talking to a gentleman last night at the ballpark who was talking about facing Nate Sampson again. I mean, they know. They know. All right, good stuff, everybody. 1, 2, 3, go X's. Here we go. All right. 1, 2, 3, go X's. I'll see you in the broadcast night.